What's going on, Husker Nation? Jake Schrantz with you for our Sports Ticker, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. In Husker softball news, Jordy Bahl was honored as the NFCA D1 Player of the Year earlier today. She's the first Husker to win this award, and Bahl was also a unanimous NFCA First Team All-America selection. Her tremendous season as a two-way player for the Big Red earned her Nebraska's first NFCA First Team All-American distinction since M.J. Knighton in 2016. Moving over to Husker volleyball, the 2025 schedule for Nebraska was announced today. The Big Red will play 30 matches in the regular season, with 20 of them coming against Big Ten opponents. Among the 30-match schedule, 8 of them feature teams that finished in the top 10 of the 2024 ABCA Coaches Poll. The 2025 campaign will begin in late August as the Huskers take part in the ABCA First Serve Showcase at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Nebraska will take on Pittsburgh on August 22nd and Stanford on August 24th. For more information on the rest of Nebraska's schedule, as they look to remain among the top programs in the country under new head coach Danny Busboom-Kelly, head over to Huskers.com. The Indiana Pacers took a 3-1 series lead in the Eastern Conference Finals against the New York Knicks last night. Tyrese Halliburton went for a 32-point triple-double in that one. And in the Western Conference, the Thunder and Timberwolves are set for tip-off in about 90 minutes from Oklahoma City. If the Thunder win Game 5, they will head to their first NBA Finals since 2012. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Let's take it to Hour 1 of Sports Nightly with our guy Matt Coatney tonight, right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Here we go. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Dice has the sign. He collects the 3-2 pitch. Strike 3 called. Casey Dice finishes it for Nebraska. The dog pile is on. The Nebraska Cornhuskers have run the table and run it back. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament champions. With the guardian angel watching over this team, Nebraska runs through the field here in Omaha and have earned themselves a regional bid. Nebraska knocks off their second-ranked opponent in as many days. The Cornhuskers shut out the 13th-ranked Bruins 5-0 after 8 masterful innings from Ty Horn.
Now, here is your host, Matt Coatney, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sports Nightly. I don't have blonde hair, I'm not a female, and I'm not gorgeous, so obviously Jessica Cooney is not here tonight. Nick Hanley is flying on a plane to head to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, so you get Matt Coatney tonight, making a rare North American summer appearance on Sports Nightly. I haven't been in the studio in several months, but, you know, it always feels like home to me when I host this show. The first time I hosted this show was 25 years ago, I think. So it's almost like home to me every time I come into this studio. All right, let's get into it. We've got a big show for you tonight. We're obviously going to focus on Husker baseball, and you heard the highlights from the end of the Big Ten tournament from Ben Mclofflin. He'll be our guest in just a few moments. And then in our second segment, we've got a bit of a podcast from Kicking Back with the Cooks with my dear friends John Cook and Lauren Cook, and we'll go through that. In Hour 2, we've got the premier voice of college softball on the radio, Nate Rohr, with us to recap the great Husker softball season. And we've got an interview with President Jeffrey Gold. So a lot to talk about here in the next 2 hours. We're going to talk about, as Jake told you in the ticker, Jordy Bahl being named the National Player of the Year in the NFCA and an All-American. And then that volleyball schedule, I want to go through that a little bit more in depth later in the hour. 8 of the top 10 in last year's coaches poll will be on the Husker schedule next year. But right now, let me tell you that Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday Since 1975, shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Well, we've been talking about baseball on Sports Nightly. Obviously, it's what all of Husker Nation has been talking about. And we're going to bring on one of the two guys that's going to call it this weekend from Chapel Hill. Ben Mclofflin joins us. And first of all, Benny Mac, you and Nick Hanley absolutely nailed the call of the Big Ten tournament in Omaha. I never get to see you after football season because I go on this basketball tangent, and then when you go on baseball, our worlds never collide, so I'm very happy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for the kind words. For those watching on the YouTube stream, we are en route to the airport as we speak, so very much a live radio situation we got going here. But you're right, it's good to see your face, even though I'm not looking at your face in real life. Yeah, because as soon as the season's over, we're going separate ways, and we're going all across the country.
Yeah, our bro song together should be Separate Ways by Journey. So I just have to ask you this. I was thinking about this coming into the studio tonight. How many years now has it been that you've been on the baseball broadcast?
Oh, boy. So I am going to say this is 12. I'm pretty sure this is 12. Whatever the math is that 2014 is from now, that was my first year.
Yeah, that's 12. Yeah. You subtract 25 from 14 and then you add the current season you're in. So, yeah.
That's why you keep me around, because I have some challenges when it comes to adding and subtracting. Among other things.
You know, Benny, I don't have to tell you this, but Husker Nation was fascinated with the run this team made in Omaha again this season. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament championships. You know, and then the people who listened to that Big Ten title game, I had so many texts. I had nothing to do with it. But fans were texting me about this. Why do you think, for example, over 15,000 in attendance for the championship game at Charles Schwab? Why do you think this team in particular captured Husker Nation this last weekend like it did?
Well, I think it's, in its simplest form, they're fighters. You know, this is a team that went through all kinds of adversity early in the year, starting first with dealing with the loss of our man, Sharpie. That bled into the locker room and into the clubhouse, into the coaching staff, certainly the radio crew. And then, they were staring in the face of a very, very challenging schedule, of my, as we decided, 12 years of doing games on the radio. This is the toughest schedule I could remember. Looking at the regional field, almost half of Nebraska's games were against teams in this field. So very, very difficult. You lose your Friday night ace, a bona fide All-American candidate early in Mason McConaughey. And then you lose Tucker Timmerman in the first week, one of the relievers you're going to be relying on the most. That had the recipe for disaster. And then you throw in 7 or 8 slumping hitters at the same time the first 2 months of the year. And, that California trip, Nebraska was hitting somewhere in the neighborhood of 230 as a unit. Couple all that together, and you're going to get a tumultuous ride, and that's exactly what happened. But in typical Will Bolt Nebraska baseball fashion, they peeled themselves off the canvas. They won 5 of their last 6 Big Ten series. We knew the schedule was going to lighten up at some point. They took 2 of 3 from a national host in Oregon State. And then obviously that culminated with just a magical run in Omaha. And I think as the team kind of found their way through that bracket, this new format, the weather was great on a Sunday, on Memorial Day weekend, and per usual, Husker Nation showed out. And the boys definitely feasted on that, and obviously didn't disappoint with a shutout victory over another top 15 opponent.
We're visiting with Ben Mclofflin. He and Nick Hanley will be on the call this weekend in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. The Huskers play at 4 p.m. Central on Friday against Oklahoma, 3:30 with pregame coverage. So you talked about the struggles early in the season. My goodness, just 6 weeks ago, a lot of people thought Nebraska might not even make the Big Ten tournament. What in the world changed with this team in that short period of time?
Yeah, I think there's two things that really started to happen. One, the offense started going. You know, when you're thinking back to when this team was struggling, Dylan Carey, Caden Brumbaugh, Joshua Overbeek, I mean, up and down the lineup, guys were struggling to hit the ball hard and drive in runs. And it was to the point to where, you know, Nebraska would be trailing by 3 or 4 runs in a game, and it just felt insurmountable because they had a hard time hitting the ball. Well, then everybody started going at the same time. You started seeing, you know, guys like Robbie Bolin and Riley Silva and even Hogan Halixo kind of chime in with the usual suspects. I mean, when you've got a team that's fighting for their goals, what we always say, your dudes need to be dudes. And then you started to see, you know, those guys at the top of the lineup with Brum, with DC, with Beek, you know, really start to step up and do what, you know, they were intended to do for the whole year. And then the second part was you started to get a lot more consistency from the back end of your rotation with Jackson Brockett and Ty Horn. You know, Brockett was a guy that's been relatively consistent this year, but pitching on Sundays, not a long leash. And so he didn't work through 5 innings consistently. And with Tyner, you know, he had a hard time with his pitch count early in the year for one reason or another. And you start to see him gain some confidence and get some successful starts, start working deeper into games. And that all culminated with the cherry on top with both of those special performances in the Big Ten tournament with Jax against Oregon and with Tyner against UCLA. And that's how we got to where we are right now.
I'll talk about the drop fly ball against Michigan State a little bit later on, but I want to get to Friday night. And I think it was Friday night when I found out how many people I know were looking for any information about when the game was going to start. I had no dog in this fight other than being an interested fan, and I had a minimum of 20 messages from Husker fans asking me like I knew what time the game was going to start. From your standpoint, when that game finally got moved to Saturday morning, how worried were you that everybody sat around for a long time and now you got to play the early game on Saturday and potentially play 2 games, which is what happened? How worried were you when that game didn't get played Friday night?
Yeah, I was very worried. And I think it's a really good question you asked, Matt, because when you think about the circumstances around that game, this was supposed to be a Friday with good weather in terms of temperature, starting to, you know, feed off that momentum of earlier in the week. It was a nationally ranked top 5 opponent. To say that crowd was lathered up is the understatement of the year. I mean, they had time to get their bodies in a way to where they could perform. I don't know if they could have made it for 9 innings based on the energy we were seeing at the ballpark, but they were ready to go. And the frustrating thing was we were hearing nothing. Like, we weren't hearing anything. Normally it's coaches meeting at this time, tarp's going to come off at this time, starters going to get warm at this time, and then you kind of piece it together from there. But I started to get really worried, you know, as storms kept popping up, no updates were happening. At one point I looked at Nick and I said, I don't think we're playing. And, you know, as the plug got pulled, I started thinking about Saturday morning. One, you know, Oregon was at the ballpark for 6 hours. They had a chance to kind of recharge overnight. The crowd, I didn't think would be nearly as juiced up that early as they were on Friday night. And I just think there were some situations that were going against Nebraska with that game going to Saturday. But per usual, I was proven wrong. Husker Nation showed up. Brockett threw as well as he has all year, and Nebraska kind of took over from there.
Visiting with Ben Mclofflin, he and Nick Handley will have the call for the Huskers Radio Network in the NCAA tournament at Chapel Hill all weekend. Getting away from the team a little bit, so much was made about this new format with the Big Ten tournament. I have to assume if you win the tournament, you have no problem with the format. But in that press box and talking to coaches, because you've got your finger on the pulse of Big Ten baseball more than anybody I know. if you eliminate the Nebraska perspective, what was the general overall thought of the first year of this new format?
I heard a lot, and not a lot of it was positive, if I'm being transparent.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, to have to win your pool as a non-top 4 seed makes it extremely difficult. And I understand the thought process of the Big Ten and going to a format like this, right? Like, you think about what Nebraska did last year to have to get through the championship. They had to win 5 consecutive games. That was a big tax on their staff. So going into Stillwater, we were all a little concerned at what was left in terms of Nebraska pitching. Well, you protect that by shaving some games off of the tournament format. Secondly, the thought was reward the top 4 teams for their efforts during the regular season. But I think in doing that, you really made it challenging. And, of course, I was proven wrong by Nebraska winning the whole thing. But those teams that aren't on the bubble, more years than not, you're not going to have a Nebraska situation where you run through the tournament as a higher seed. For a conference that's constantly fighting for attention and fighting for what we feel is fair, you take a lot of getting that cool story out of it. Now, I'm saying this all as I'm driving to the airport as an 8 seed from Nebraska's standpoint, running through the tournament, doing exactly what I'm saying wouldn't happen. But I think the percentages of this happening on a year-to-year basis are extraordinarily low. And so that's what bothers me is, you think about that year Iowa won it as an 8 seed, and they ran through Bloomington. And, the Michigan team in 2019, that very similar situation in Nebraska, they're an extra inning. They're a 2-out collapse from Illinois away in that tournament to not making a regional, and they make it to the national championship in the if necessary game against a Vanderbilt powerhouse in 2019. So you just run the risk of losing out on stories like that. And anytime, the Big Ten Conference going to get an extra team or 2 in the field, I'm always for that.
Ben, Jackson Brockett is slated to make the start in the opener in Chapel Hill against Oklahoma. You talked about him being the Sunday starter this year. But, it seems to me in his career, he's kind of been a pitcher who steps up in big games. And none was bigger than that win against Oregon, was it?
No, definitely not. And I think, with Ty having to throw 118 pitches on Sunday, Jax has been in some very big situations in his career, namely the last 2 years, as you mentioned. I think he's the obvious choice to start against a good Oklahoma team. He threw in the regional last year against Florida. He threw in the Big Ten championship last year against Penn State. Obviously, the game against Oregon, which pitching for Nebraska's season on the line. I think the Huskers are comfortable with the ball in his hand in these types of moments, and I think he's comfortable in them. I talked with him in an interview after the Big Ten championship game, and he made the comment, in games like this, you either run to the fight or run from the fight, and he likes to run to the fight. And I think that's exactly what you need in a situation like this, whether you're throwing 98, with a hammer breaking ball, or you're throwing 88 and having to locate. I think your competitiveness and your willing to win matters just as much if you're that underdog. And so I think there's a lot of trust in 33 to go give Nebraska a good chance to win on Friday.
Visiting with Ben Mclofflin. He'll be in Chapel Hill this weekend with Nick Hanley on the call. All right, the championship game win, Ty Horn. You said 118 pitches. Simple question. Did you see that performance coming, honestly?
No. And I think anybody that did is lying to you. I think if Ty got 5 or 6 innings of, just a couple run baseball under his belt, you certainly would have taken that, especially considering the offensive prowess of UCLA, including a Golden Spikes finalist in Rock Chalowski, who has a real chance to be the first overall pick in next year's draft. That I couldn't have seen coming. Now, that being said, Ty is a hyper competitor. Ty hates losing and tying your shoes in a race. Like, if there's anybody that you want to give the ball to in that kind of situation with that energy, it's number 20. And I think Ty was really eager to bounce back after a tough start against UCLA where his emotions really got the best of him out in Westwood. And so I think it was a perfect storm to help lead to that result. And I also think there was a situation maybe in the middle of the game where Nebraska was ready to go to the bullpen if they needed to. They just never gave him the reason to go to the bullpen because he was in control. And even when UCLA kind of put the pressure on with a leadoff guy on base or an extra base hit, he came back and executed pitch after pitch after pitch to get Nebraska off the field.
All right, Ben, tell me about Oklahoma. That's 4 o'clock Central on Friday. Let me just start with this. How many college teams have you ever ran into that has a pair of twins pitching? Both are projected to be in the show in a couple of years. I mean, that's a pretty rare thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very rare, and certainly did not expect Malachi, the what we call the other brother of Kyson, who is going to be a top 5, top 6 overall pick in the draft here in a month. Didn't expect Oklahoma to gloss over Kyson to save him in the regional, but that's what they're doing. And Malachi did not throw in Hoover, which it's a bit of a long layoff. So interesting strategy to go there. But when you look at Oklahoma holistically, this is a team built around pitching. And obviously Kyson is a large part to that. And, listening to his press conference yesterday, he's certain that he's going to get the ball against North Carolina. I think that fired up the Huskers a little bit here and that, just assuming Oklahoma was going to beat Nebraska. But very good arms. Their bullpen's loaded. Crooks is a guy in the back end with a funky delivery that throws in the mid to upper 90s. It's a very similar to bullpen to what we saw against UCLA. And, obviously their offensive numbers don't jump off the page, but they're also hitting in the SEC. So they see premier arms every weekend. You got to be aware of, guys like Carmichael and Willits and Willis. They've got some pieces in there that can hurt you, but it's a very team-oriented offense who's not going to just bash the ball to the ballpark like, say, an Oregon will. So, matchup-wise, I think team to team in this regional is pretty consistent with the good pitching staff and, hurts you a lot of different ways offensively.
Visiting with Ben Mclofflin, and before I let you go, I gotta talk about Sharpie. And none of us have any idea what you personally have been going through. I know trying to get through my Illinois women's basketball broadcast after the news broke when he passed was one of the toughest things I've ever done. You've dealt with this all season. Your friendship with him is off the charts in terms of me trying to illustrate it with words. But my goodness, Ben, the drop fly ball against Michigan State, the pitching performance of Brockett, the pitching performance of Horn, overcoming the injuries, some of which we've talked about, but Overbeek and Bolin. I couldn't be prouder of you and Nick for how you've handled these broadcasts, but can you even possibly put into words the impact Greg seemed to have on this team in this tournament?
It's always been hard to articulate to people, especially since he's left us. There's a lot of days where people will turn on a baseball broadcast and listen to Nick and myself, or me and David, or Nick and David, and just assume everything's normal. But, there's multiple times a year where I'm in the Haymarket Park parking lot in tears, or driving home in tears. Had it happen multiple times in Omaha, just thinking about him and how much he would have loved to have been with us during this run, in person. Now, what makes it kind of whole is there's been moments throughout this year where we have felt him with us. Obviously, the Vanderbilt game, that's been well documented, and, what happened in that booth after the game was over, and then, certainly the drop fly ball. But there's been other moments here and there where, I may have been lonely, or, asked for a sign from him to show me he's with us, and seen it firsthand. And, he gets brought up all the time, every day. It's been a hyper emotional year, but it's made me enjoy the 2025 group as much as I have, because, they treat us like family. And when they know that family members are hurting, they're always there to be a crutch for us. And yes, they're the ones out there playing, but, you know, Greg was just as much a part of the team as anybody. And they recognize that. The coaching staff recognizes that. And so when you get those reminders, right, I mean, especially with the drop fly ball with the season on the line, or maybe a little more subtle thing like taking a moment to yourself during the national anthem like I always do, I think it just kind of puts in perspective where we are. And, you know, to see that result in a conference championship and get to call a regional, you know, I've always said the only thing that I ever want out of a broadcast is for Greg to be proud. And I've done my best. I know Nick and David have too, to every single day, whether I'm sick and have a cough like I do now, not feeling great, you know, tired from whatever, like we owe it to Greg to give our very best. And when you have teams that perform like Nebraska has, particularly this last week, it sure makes it easy. But it's been a challenging year. And like I've said a million times, I'm blessed to have a broadcast partner with me that knows me, knows what I need, and vice versa, because there's no way I'd have been able to get through this season without Nick and Josh and, you know, my support system that I have at the radio network.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of Nick. I can tell you Husker Nation is proud of you. The amount of messages I get from people who are listening to you guys, you have no idea. Ben Mclofflin has been with us. Chapel Hill Regional, Huskers in Oklahoma, 4 o'clock p.m. Central Friday, pregame at 3:30. Benny Mac, I love you. Fly safely. Good luck to you and Nick. And hopefully we're talking about a couple of wins. And hopefully we'll have you on here early next week. Good luck.
That sounds great, man. Coat, great to see you. Love you too. Take care of yourself. And, hopefully we're calling some exciting baseball here in a few days. Thanks so much.
Ben Mclofflin with us here tonight on Sports Nightly. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. More Sports Nightly when we return.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Shop Woodhouse Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and save on our full lineup of new vehicles with Employee Pricing Plus going on right now. Lease the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo for just $329 per month. Visit one of our 2 convenient locations in Blair or Bellevue, or online anytime at WoodhouseChryslerJeepDodge.com or WoodhouseCDJRBellevue.com today. 36 months, 5,000 miles per year with approved credit. Tax title license extra. For well-qualified returning lessees. $1,999 down plus first payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number C250561. Offer expires 5/31/2025. See dealer for details.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the 9th inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Discover power, performance, and reliability at Woodhouse Chevy. Whether you're after a rugged truck, a stylish SUV, or a fuel-efficient sedan, the Chevy lineup features a vehicle fit for any lifestyle. Take advantage of special financing and exclusive offers happening now. View our inventory online or visit our 2 convenient locations in Omaha and Missouri Valley. Woodhouse Chevy. Together, let's drive.
Matt Coatney sitting in for Jessica Cootie and Nick Hanley tonight. Welcome back to Sports Nightly, and the Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Well, coming up next, we have one of our really favorite segments for fans. This is part of our podcast, Kicking Back with the Cooks. This is Lauren Cook West with her dad, now the emeritus head coach of Husker volleyball, John Cook. I hope you enjoy it.
Anyways, what is new? You've added, well, what's new with us? We've added another family member to the family. We've added another horse to the herd. Yep. What else? I think those are the 2 big things.
Yeah.
Tell us about this new horse.
2 big things. So the annual Pitzer sale was April 27th, same day as the Kansas match. And so Taylor wanted to get another horse to learn how to heel on. So he heads in team roping, and he wanted to get another horse to heel on. And we had a horse picked out, but the horse, it's an auction, so it started going really high, and this guy that was bidding wasn't going to stop. So we kind of lost that horse. So anyway, long story short, Mark Ray called Taylor and said, "Hey, I just got another horse. We bought 2 more horses, just privately. He's going to start developing." And he said, "Do you want to train this horse to be a heel horse?" And this horse actually comes from Denton, Nebraska, which is right outside of Lincoln. And it's a former cutting horse who we're going to try to develop into a roping horse. So we've gone around and around with his names. Madden wants to name him Rocky. I want to name him Red Dog because I was just in Yellowstone, and the red dogs are the baby buffaloes that are red.
Bison.
Or bison, okay. But Taylor wants to name him Stevie after Stevie Ray Vaughan, who's the best guitar player. So right now the poor guy doesn't have really a name. Apparently his name, the name they were using was Pedro. So he doesn't seem like a Pedro to us. So
I think you have to keep it on the R theme. Reggie, Reva, Rev, Rocky or Red, or just keep the R theme going.
That's kind of what we were doing, but then all of a sudden you can't distinguish what horse everybody's talking about because they all sound the same. So anyway, he's up here in Wyoming now, and He's buddies with all the horses, and he's a really, really nice horse, really friendly. And but he's a younger horse who's we're going to try to develop. So this is coaching 101, and we're going to develop some drills and work with Mark Ray and try to develop this horse.
Are you coaching Taylor to coach the horse, or are you coaching the horse directly?
Well, he'll be doing most of the coaching. It's just the same drills and reps and building the foundation. I'll be helping in that because, we'll start him off on the dummy. So he's going to have to learn how to rope on the dummy, and somebody's got to pull the dummy. So
do you create a practice plan for this?
We will, yeah. We'll create a practice plan. No, this is
and shove it in the back of your pants, and with the lamination around it.
Yeah, I should do that.
I think you would get kicked out of the cowboy world.
No, Nebraska Public Television is coming up here next week to shoot a documentary, and they're coming up here for 3 days, and so that might be pretty cool. Do a practice plan, have it in my back of my pants, and we're out there training this horse.
You should just do it and pull out your whistle. Do you still have your whistle?
No, I don't have
and just
mess
with them. They're like, wait, what's going on here? Oh, that's funny. Well, congratulations on the new horse and the new family member who, for those of you who haven't heard, Griffin John West, of course, John, named after you. That's pretty special.
Very special.
So you have a new little buddy who's not super active yet, but Madden's, pushing every day, like, Griffin, we got to do our jumps. We got to practice our spikes. We got to do our passing. I'm like, I think we got a while to go before that happens.
No, it's awesome. And he loves his big sister.
Yeah, he really does.
You can already tell the connection there.
Yeah. He's a happy baby, easy baby. So what else have you been up to? You went and got a new horse. You've been doing some cowboying. I know you've been speaking all over the state. You drove a neighbor's tractor randomly one morning. You mentioned you went to Yellowstone. Just give us some tidbits of what you've been up to.
Well, a week and a half ago, went out to pick up the horse in Erickson, and while we were out there, we did some cowboy ranch work. I actually my job was helping sort the mares at Pitzer Ranch with their babies. You sort them out, and then they try to decide if they're in heat or not, so they can breed them, basically. So there's about approximately, I'd say, 300 mares with babies. So my job was to bring them up one by one, and they tease them out with these studs, and they either show the stud, hey, I'm interested in, I'm in heat, or no, see you later. So, and then they take it from there, and then they go through a process of breeding them through artificial insemination. So it was fascinating and long days of doing that. You bring them in from out in the pastures and then take them through and kind of sort them out and make sure they don't trample the babies. And because there might be 80, 90 mares in there at one time in this corral that you're sorting them out. So I was on Rev with that. He loved it. He knew exactly what to do. He was great at it. And then we roped and had the opportunity to stay at Fort Robinson, spend the night there on the way out and the way back. It's an old fort. It's awesome. They have horse corrals there because they used to train horses there for, I can't remember, it was World War I. I think they trained horses there. And anyway, tons of history. It's beautiful. So we did that. Then the first retirement trip was your mom and I went to Yellowstone for 3 days, stayed in lodges at what's called the Canyon, which is the Yellowstone Canyon, and unbelievable place. And it just opened last week. So all the animals are coming out. We saw every animal there is up there, including grizzly bear mama with her 3 babies. And that was fantastic. Went on a bunch of hikes. And then you mentioned the tractors. So for all the farmers in Nebraska, there's a farmer here that farms barley and hay. and he also grows really high-level wheat. And so I told him when I retired, if you ever needed help, to let me know. I get a text a couple mornings ago, I need your help. So I got in this big old tractor. I mean, the wheels are taller than me, and we went out and cleaned up rocks out of one of the fields he just started getting ready to plant. And so I drove this tractor, and I'm just thinking, okay, I just can't run this guy over. That was my goal. But we're out on the hills and mud, and he's throwing rocks in the deal, and then we're taking them over and dumping them. But when he plowed up this field, you know, some rocks came up, so we had to clear it out before he could plant. So that was pretty cool.
What color tractor?
It was a blue one. Yeah.
So what brand is that?
New Holland. It was a New Holland.
Okay.
Big boy. So it was pretty cool.
What have you enjoyed the most, and what have you enjoyed the least in retirement so far?
I'm enjoying everything. Pretty much the thing, I mean, I love everything we're doing. I'm super busy. The thing I've enjoyed least is I'm never in a routine. I'm so used to being in a routine. I'm not in a routine anymore. It's like every day there's something different, and I'm on call. We go here, we come to your house. And so I've completely lost my routine. So that kind of drives me nuts a little bit, but I'm adjusting.
The great ones adjust, right?
Yep. So just when I was coaching, it was always kind of the same thing every day. This time, you know, practice, you know, video, so on. So very used to being in a routine, and now it's something different every day.
My thanks to John Cook and Lauren Cook West. That is part of our podcast, Kicking Back with the Cooks. You can find that wherever you find podcasts. You can also find that on our Huskers Radio Network YouTube channel. We'll have more Sports Nightly when we return in a few moments.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value.
Hey Huskers, it's a new day in Nebraska. Manzer Equipment, Mertz Farm Equipment, and West Point Implement of Columbus have teamed up as True Ag and Turf. Coach Rule is bringing innovation and high-performance standards to Husker football, and True Ag is doing the same to your farm with game-changing Fendt equipment. As Big Red establishes power on the field, True Ag and Turf does the same in the field by welcoming Fendt to Nebraska.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
I'm Matt Coatney, sitting in tonight on Sports Nightly. Glad you're with us, the premier voice of softball on the radio. Nate Rohr will be with us at the top of the hour. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Husker Athletics. Couple of texts on our text line at 402-413-2400. Brian in Bellevue, kind of going off the Ben McLaughlin interview earlier, said the Big Ten site director did a poor job of keeping fans updated when the weather became a factor of the new format. No one is going to travel to the Big Ten tournament when their team plays a truncated bracket and no chance to win out after only one loss. I agree with that. I think a lot of people felt that way. Carol on her text line says, is Danny Busboom Kelly birthed her baby yet? Yes. That happened late last week, her second child, and congratulations to Danny and her family. We'll have our final segment of Hour 1 of Sports Nightly coming up in a few minutes. Stay right there.
Husker fans, it's game day, and Pizza Hut's got your perfect play. Score the game day special for just $29.99. Get 2 medium 3-topping pizzas, 8 boneless wings, and 5 breadsticks. Enough to feed 8 hungry fans. Pizza, wings, breadsticks, and more. It's the ultimate lineup to fuel your game day. Check out the full menu online at pizzahut.com or in store. Because remember, no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value. Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Coverage of the Huskers on Sports Nightly is brought to you in part by Hy-Vee. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee, where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. My name is Matt Coatney. I'm sitting in tonight for Jessica Cootie and Nick Hanley. Nick is either landed in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, or is flying there right now. He and Ben Mclofflin will have the call all weekend right here on the Huskers Radio Network of Husker baseball in the NCAA tournament. They take on Oklahoma, and that will be at 4 o'clock Central on Friday, the first game in the NCAA tournament for the Huskers. You can join us at 3:30 with pregame coverage. In hour 2 of our program tonight, I'm bringing on my dear friend, Nate Rohr. You guys in the back, you have any idea how long I've known Nate Rohr? Any idea back there, David, Jake?
I'm assuming from the beginning of time, right?
Nate Rohr, when I was helping out KWBE Radio in Beatrice in the late 90s, was a 14-year-old who wanted to be in radio and would just hang out. So I'd cover the county fair, and I was giving away like Adventureland passes or Worlds of Fun passes, or, interviewing people with a cute dog. And Nate would stay out there all day, just all day. I've never seen anybody who wanted to be on the radio more than Nate Rohr. Now he's a father. He's got twins. He's got 3 wonderful kids. And one of my questions I'm going to ask him is, how long has he been doing Husker softball? Because I want to say he and Ben Mclofflin went and covered the College World Series together during a tornado warning back, I want to say, in about 2004. So we'll talk about that. Speaking of softball, if you haven't heard, the Jordy Ball story just doesn't end. Today, the NFCA named her the National Player of the Year and an All-American. And we'll go through some of her stats in hour 2 when we recap Nate Rohr's perspective on the softball season. But from my chair, what she did during the regional was as impressive an individual performance as I can remember in my 25 years on this network at any level of sport. And I think what's great about team sports is you can be part of a team, but also show what a great individual you are. Something else we're going to talk about in hour 2 is the volleyball schedule was released today. And can you imagine this in any other sport? They're taking on 8 of the top 10 teams in last year's coaches poll. 8 out of 10. But you know what I think the toughest match on that schedule is going to be? It doesn't count. There's an exhibition game. They've added an alumni match on Saturday, August 16th at the Devaney Center. Now you think about what kind of alumni team can Danny Busboom Kelly roll out there? Think about all the players who are playing pro volleyball right now, like Lexi Rodriguez. I mean, just think about all the people that could come back. You're telling me that alumni team isn't going to be as good as Penn State or Stanford? I think that's going to be something special to watch. All right, that's going to wrap up hour 1. Thanks to Jake and David in the back. And Nate Rohr will be our first guest in hour 2. Stay right there.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health, and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
What's going on, Husker Nation? Almost ready for hour 2 of Sports Nightly, and this is Jake Schrantz with you for our Sports Ticker, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. In Husker softball news, Jordy Ball was honored as the NFCA D1 Player of the Year earlier today. She's the first Husker to win this award, and she was a unanimous NFCA First Team All-America selection. Her tremendous season as Nebraska's two-way player, she earned Nebraska's first NFCA First Team All-American distinction since MJ Knighton in 2016. Moving over to Husker volleyball, the 2025 schedule for Nebraska was announced today. The Big Red will play 30 matches in the regular season, with 20 of them coming against Big Ten opponents. Among that 30-match schedule, 8 of them feature teams that finished in the top 10 of the 2024 AVCA Coaches Poll. The 2025 campaign will begin in late August as the Huskers take part in the AVCA First Serve Showcase over at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Nebraska will take on Pittsburgh on August 22nd and Stanford on August 24th. For more information on the rest of Nebraska's schedule as they look to remain among the top programs under new head coach Danny Busboom Kelly, head on over to Huskers.com. The Indiana Pacers took a 3-1 series lead in the Eastern Conference Finals against the New York Knicks last night. Tyrese Halliburton went off for a 32-point triple-double. And in the Western Conference, the Thunder and Timberwolves are almost set for tip-off here tonight from Oklahoma City. If the Thunder win Game 5, they will head to their first NBA Finals since 2012. Call a timeout if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Let's take it out to hour 2 of Sports Nightly right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Here we go. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Dice has the sign. He collects the 3-2 pitch. Strike 3 called. Casey Dice finishes it for Nebraska. The dog pile is on. The Nebraska Cornhuskers have run the table and run it back. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament champions. With the guardian angel watching over this team, Nebraska runs through the field here in Omaha and have earned themselves a regional bid. Nebraska knocks off their second-ranked opponent in as many days. The Cornhuskers shut out the 13th-ranked Bruins 5-0 after 8 masterful innings from Ty Horn.
Now, here is your host, Matt Coatney, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Welcome in, Husker Nation, to hour 2 of Sports Nightly. My name is Matt Coatney, and I'm delighted to be filling in for Jessica and Nick Hanley tonight. And with Husker baseball heading to the NCAA tournament, we have focused a lot on that. But, I have not had a chance to really talk about the story of last week and really the week before that and the week before that, and that's Husker softball. So we will bring on Nate Rohr, the voice of Husker softball, here in a few minutes to give his take on really the postseason and how things went. Some big news today, as you heard Jake talk about Jordy Ball being named the National Player of the Year for the NFCA and an All-American. Also, we've got an interview with Nebraska President Jeff Gold. That'll be in segment 2, and then we'll talk about the volleyball schedule that was released today and some other things on my mind. And we'll take your text and calls in the final 2 segments at 402-413-2400. But the Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest's premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. And now coming on to the show, someone you're very familiar with. He is the public address voice of Memorial Stadium for football. He is a father. He is just an all-around great guy. Nate Rohr was on the call throughout the postseason on Husker softball. And Nate, thank you for being with us. The first question I have to ask you, because I couldn't figure this out today, I thought I knew everything about you. How many years have you been the voice of Husker softball on this network?
I think it's 21. So, as you know, the maiden voyage was 2004, the Big 12 tournament. Peaches James was pitching Nebraska to that Big 12 tournament title. I'd served as the public address announcer throughout the regular season and was fortunate to get the call to do the play-by-play on the Big 12 tournament. So I think it's 21. Remember, there was the gap year in 2021 where we did not have Husker softball broadcasts. But otherwise, yeah, I've been behind the mic at Bolin and on Husker softball ever since.
You are unquestionably the premier voice of softball on the radio in the United States. And I say that not subjectively. I doubt there's anyone except maybe Allison Medler who's listened to more of your broadcast than you have.
Oh, yes.
You know, what's interesting, people will tell me about Husker women's basketball. They're like, man, you shout out to a lot of people. I'm like, well, if someone tells me they're listening, I kind of want to tell them I appreciate that. Softball kind of lends itself, softball and baseball, I think, kind of lends itself a little bit more to that. You know, growing up as a little boy in Southwest Missouri, listening to Jack Buck and Mike Shannon all those years on Cardinals broadcast, it seemed like they knew half the Midwest. They knew where Cahokia, Illinois was and Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And I think you do such a great job of that. And do you think, you know, because I saw the stats today, ESPN said that the final game against Tennessee was the fourth most watched super regional in ESPN history. I have to think your audience for the entire super regional, but maybe that final game was the biggest you've ever had. Do you think that's right?
You know, with the possible exception of the run to the Women's College World Series in 2013, I think you're right. You know, you might be right. This team, because of Jordy Ball's presence, because of the way they rolled through regionals, because of the larger growth of the sport, it's really been something in the last 10 years, really, to see how this sport's grown. And, I mean, what is now Devon Field in Oklahoma City, what used to be ASA Hall of Fame Stadium, I think is evidence of this because, you know, when I went down there for that first Husker softball broadcast, there was a big roof behind home plate. You kind of just sat at a table under the roof. For the press facility, it was just one bank of bleachers down either foul line. Now that's a double-deck stadium. And like I said, that I think that's reflective of the sport as a whole. And then you look at Nebraska in particular, and yeah, you alluded to the shout-outs that we give on the air. If that's any indication, that was about as big and about as many as I've had. So, you know, if it wasn't the biggest, it was probably right there with the College World Series runs. The two CWS games in 2013, but that at worst they were top five. I'll say that.
Visiting with Nate Rohr, the voice of Husker softball, PA voice of football at Memorial Stadium, to talk about Husker softball. So I want to get into Jordy Ball, and I know that's low-hanging fruit, but my goodness, the injury she had near the start of the 2024 season really, I think the proper verb would be derailed fans' expectations and had to have an impact on the general outlook for the team. So do you think the expectations for this season were tempered any after not making the NCAA tournament last year? Did this team get where you thought they could? Did they underachieve? Did they overachieve? And I'm not asking for the textbook answer from Rhonda Revelle. I'm asking for what Nate Rohr thought when you watched Jordy Ball go down a year ago and then she came back this year.
So this would be about where I would have tabbed this team, you know, there was just such uncertainty because not only did you have Jordy Ball coming back from injury, but the entire cast around her had changed. I mean, you're talking about losing Billy Andrews, who's your career home run leader. You're talking about losing Sidney Gray, who was an all-conference level third baseman. You're talking about losing Brooke Andrews, Caitlin Neal, Kaylin Kinney, Sarah Harness. There were just such big losses all around the diamond that, where I was pretty sure last season was going to end in Oklahoma City, I had a little bit more of a wait and see approach with this bunch, just because of the fact that you just don't know how the pieces are going to come together. And in the end, they came together fairly well. I mean, you think about an infield where you were replacing everybody except the first baseman, Bella Bacon. And I think they came together fairly well, and they certainly hit their positions fairly well. The outfield was always kind of a work in progress, and in the end, they settled in with Squire in left and Hannah Cammons in right when Jordy was pitching. So I think my expectations coming in were a little tempered, just because I didn't know how all those parts would interact with each other. And in the end, for most of the year, they hummed along pretty well. So I would say this team met my expectations, maybe slightly exceeded, just because getting through a regional, some of it is luck of the draw, and it's dependent on who's that number one seed that you get. And the fact that Nebraska didn't have to face the number one seed, LSU, certainly opened the door for that to be a more easy route to the regional title.
Visiting with Nate Rohr, the voice of Husker softball here on the Huskers Radio Network. Nate, I kind of went through this with a superstar in women's basketball with Kelsey Griffin, where she missed what would have been her first senior year with a season-ending injury. And she will tell you that it changed her career for the better, because she got to sit out, watch what the coaches were saying, be a little bit more reflective, and, another year on the birth certificate. Did you have a chance to really get a sense from Jordy Ball if the injury and sitting out a year did anything to make her fire that has always burned hot maybe even be stoked a little bit more?
Yeah, and she was pretty upfront about it, that she had been under so much pressure first going down to Oklahoma, where, hey, you're on a great team and you got a lot of help around you, but there are expectations. You have to perform. And then coming up here to Nebraska with all the expectations that were on her, the injury allowed her to take a step back really from the sport and take a deep breath and reevaluate who she was with the sport, without the sport. And she says that it allowed her to be a little more free in how she went about competing. I mean, look, she's always going to put it on the line. She's always going to totally put herself forward and put herself out there. She's never going to give half effort. She's probably one where the dial was cranked to 11 in terms of intensity and self-pressure and things like that, to where a year away from playing, allowed her to say that I'm still Jordy Ball without playing softball. I want to play softball. I want to play it at the absolute highest level of which I'm capable, but I don't, if I don't have it, I'm okay too. And so that sort of external pressure of I am merely a softball robot, and that's the entirety of myself, and nothing else I do counts. That she says that sort of mindset, and I'm paraphrasing a little here, but she said that thought process, that mindset was taken off of her, and I think that was a real benefit for her, especially as she took on a real challenge this year, both pitching and hitting. So I don't know if it was necessarily beneficial in the same way that it was for Kelsey, although she was able to, see a more 30,000-foot view of the game. But I think just the relief of that pressure was the benefit. So that's a really long-winded way. And, of course, you get two broadcasters together, you're going to get long-winded. But I think the destination was the same. I think the year off was better for her in a different way. I'll say that than maybe Kelsey.
Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. This is Sports Nightly. Matt Coatney filling in tonight. I've got my dear friend Nate Rohr on here today. Nate, I want to give you some numbers. Jordy Ball, program record 462 batting average. Program record 998 slugging percentage. Program records runs scored, 23 home runs. Fifth pitcher in NCAA history with more than 20 wins and more than 20 home runs in the same season. I ask you this, if this were her senior year and she only played 1 year with the Huskers, where would she go down, in your view, in the time you've been at Nebraska, as the greatest softball players in Husker history?
Okay, so let's sort of define the pool we're talking about here, where, you know, your uppercut would be probably Peaches James.
Yeah.
And I only got Peaches senior year. You're talking Taylor Edwards. You know, you have MJ Knighton and Kiki Stokes. And the fact that she was essentially first team, not just All-American, not just pretty good at both things, but she was a first team All-American pitcher and a first team All-American hitter in the same human being. I would almost have to give her the nod. I would almost have to give her the nod as the best player I had covered, with apologies to Taylor Edwards in particular, because, you know, Taylor was a two-time All-American, but the fact that she was elite at both throughout the entire year, it's a class all by herself. I mean, you mentioned only 5 players in NCAA history have won more than 20 games and hit more than 20 home runs. And the way she carried this team for big stretches of the year, I'm not so sure her 1 year beats basically everybody else I've seen. I think it does.
You know, when I filled in for you on play-by-play and I did Taylor Edwards a handful of games, I got a different feeling down the spine of my back. I'd set up a little straighter in that broadcast booth when she came to the plate. I have to tell you, I was mesmerized watching the regional, watching what Jordy Ball did. I thought she put the Huskers on her back and willed them to win in Baton Rouge. And can you think of, and I'm not just talking about softball here, but my goodness, you're a Husker sports encyclopedia. Can you think of a player in a team sport that had a better run than she did in that regional? I'm thinking about Tommy Frazier, maybe against Florida. You know,
maybe.
You know, I brought up my dear friend Kelsey Griffin when she put the women's basketball team on her back to take them to a number 1 seed in an undefeated season. Where does that regional weekend fall in Husker lore across all sports, do you think?
I don't know that it's been equaled. I mean, you're talking about utter dominance in a sport where you're not supposed to be able to do that, especially from a hitting standpoint. 5 for 5, 4 home runs and a walk, or 4 home runs and a single and 7 walks, excuse me. And then pitching at an elite level as well. I failed to come up with a weekend, a short, a 3-game stint, a tournament run. I mean, there are very few that are in that neighborhood. Even Tommy Frazier in the Fiesta Bowl is about as good a individual performance as you'll get. And even that, I'm not so sure, wasn't surpassed by what Jordy did in the regional, because, I mean, she didn't have any. It's funny. Buck O'Neill always talks about what the essence of baseball is, and softball's pretty germane to this. There's nobody blocking for you. There's nobody setting screens for you. It's you. And she walked up to the plate and I'm not so sure she saw more than 5 hittable pitches all weekend. I mean, it's Barry Bonds in 2004 stuff here, or 2001. Every time there was a pitch to hit, she hit it and hit it hard. So it goes down in the books as one of the great individual weekends, short runs in Husker history. I think it stands up with a lot of great performances. I mean, what Kelsey Griffin did down the stretch of her senior year, I'm sure there are some Jordan Larson weekends that would be in the neighborhood, but it definitely stands up on its own merits along with them.
Nate Rohr is our guest here on Sports Nightly, and I have talked here to you for 20 minutes without mentioning Ava Cusack, who, by the way, got named All-American. You talked about the losses, like Billy Andrews, for example, and players that didn't come back last year. Did you see Ava putting together this type of All-American season back in February?
No, flat out. I thought she'd be good. She was a good player for Wisconsin. She was an all-conference level hitter for Wisconsin. But she wasn't this. I think it's a real testament to what Diane Miller can do for a hitter, Nebraska's hitting coach, because I think she's got a great cerebral understanding of how to prepare hitters, how to set them up during the week, how to get them in the right mind frame to attack the pitchers, and then find the pitches they can attack. And Ava was able to do just that, and I think really developed this year into one of the top hitting shortstops in the country. Like I said, I thought they would get all conference level production. That's probably 300 average, 10 home runs, and the batting average was 100 points better than that, and she doubled the home runs. So she far exceeded what I thought she would do, and the only bad part about it is it really raises the bar for what you expect from her next year, because now next year you go in thinking, okay, she can 400 with 20 home runs is going to be tough to replicate, but you expect her to be in that same neighborhood for her senior year.
Nate, I think a lot like women's basketball and volleyball, my sense is in softball, you want to make the Women's College World Series, you really are doing yourself a disservice if you don't host a regional and then the next round a super regional, if you really want to have that great chance. When Nebraska won the first game at Tennessee, I thought they got to go 2-0, because if you go to game 3, it comes down to one pitch, and it came down to one pitch, 1 foot, really down there in Knoxville. 15 losses this year by Nebraska softball, and 1-run losses to Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, and Ohio State prior to the postseason. How does Rhonda Revelle improve that next year? Does she need a big bat in the outfield, for example?
I think you need a little more steady production from the outfield. I think that would help. You hope that you can solve the other problem on the roster, which is, who is your number 2 pitcher? She ended up getting very good secondary pitching from Hannah Kamenson and Kylie McGee by the time the season was done. But you think that, but that took some time to grow into it. I mean, Hannah Kamenson was getting her confidence back, and Kylie McGee was coming back from a wrist injury. So making sure you've got a secondary pitcher that can win you the games you're supposed to win, and then maybe one more consistent power bat to get you through offensively. And, you're able to cash in some of those 1-run games. When you think about Texas Tech, Ohio State, another one that really sticks in my craw is the Duke game in Cathedral City that ended up being a multi-run loss, but Jordy Ball threw a no-hitter against a regional team for 7 innings. Nebraska just couldn't score a run off Cassidy Kurds. So you just need a little more, top-notch production in this lineup. You also wonder how this team would have responded in the second half to those games, because in the first half of the season, Samantha Bland was really struggling offensively. She was getting acclimated to third base. And by the second half of the year, she was settled in and a really important bat. So, just a little more depth in the lineup wouldn't hurt. You have to replace the catcher in Ava Bredwell, the left fielder and Abby Squire, and you do have some candidates in the outfield, but one more big-time bat might do the trick for this bunch.
Nate, I could go another 3 hours with you, but I'm out of time. I just have to tell you, I listen to you anytime I can, not only because I'm a Husker fan. I think everybody who knows me very well knows my relationship with softball. It's a part of me, but brother, you did us proud on this network. Those were all technically perfect broadcasts, interesting. You did your homework. They were clean. They're just fun listens. And, as you know, I had some friends of mine doing the TV broadcast. It had been very easy for me to just listen to the TV broadcast, and I refused to do it because I thought I was missing something. So as a fellow broadcaster, hats off to you, and congratulations.
Well, Coach, just trying to clear the bar you and Gresh set every winter. I know you guys, you say that we have the best softball broadcast in the country. I know we have the best women's hoops broadcast in the country, and the volleyball broadcast is right there as well. And so just trying to meet the standard you guys set. So thank you for the kind words, and it was a heck of a run this year.
Nate Rohr, the PA voice of football at Memorial Stadium and our Husker softball voice for 21-ish years, has been our guest. Nate, thank you very much. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. After the break, we've got an interview with Nebraska President Jeff Gold that comes your way in just a few moments.
For a limited time, Woodhouse Ford is offering something special. Employee pricing for everyone. For eligible customers, you pay what we pay on 2024 and 2025 Ford models. No negotiations, just straightforward savings. Whether you're looking for a rugged F-150, an adventure-ready Bronco, or a spacious Escape, the road to savings starts at Woodhouse Ford. Visit us online or in-store at one of our 3 locations in Blair, Omaha, and Plattsmouth.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles, or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Nebraska soybeans power everyday products, from Goodyear tires and Skechers shoes to soy-based turf and fire suppressants. These innovations replace petroleum and utilize other components of the soybean, leading to more sustainable products worldwide.
I'm Doug Sadoff, a farmer near Trumbull, Nebraska. Thanks to cutting-edge research, soybeans are now in everything from tires to turf. It's amazing to see how these advancements are unlocking new potential for our crops.
Soybeans are a win for every product and everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your crawl space and damaging your home. Musty smells, sagging floors, mold are just a few signs your crawl space is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Welcome back into Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Cootey and delighted to be joined once again by the president of the University of Nebraska for another chat, another update. Dr. Jeffrey Gold joining us here on Sports Nightly. Always great to have you here in studio.
Always a pleasure. What do we have for tonight?
Well, listen, every time you're on, fans, listeners are just enthralled by your background, love hearing all about you, how you got here. So wanted to do a little bit of that here tonight. Let's start with, did you play sports growing up? What did you like about sports?
Well, I loved sports growing up, but, you know, as many know, I grew up in the inner city of New York, and we played stickball. Now, I'll bet you there are an awful lot of fans that are listening that never heard of stickball, but that's when you take a broomstick and you try to whack a small rubber ball out and then run the bases, which, by the way, are hubcaps that have fallen off of cars in the middle of the street. And the interesting aspect to it, and actually the most dangerous aspect to it, is not that you'll get thrown out on one of the bases or, heaven forbid, miss your chance at bat, but that there's traffic on these streets. And so you're always looking behind you and in front of you to see which cars and trucks are coming up and down the street, while you're also keeping an eye on this small little ball and trying to hit it out and circle the bases. Not exactly the same as Husker baseball and softball, but was very important. And then when I went to college, I actually tried out for a number of different sports. I actually tried out to do some fencing.
Wow.
Which I found out to be a very, very difficult and very disciplined sport, and actually tried out for 150 crew at the time as well, and then ended up doing several semesters of learning how to ride a horse, to jump and to show, and it was all English at that time, and that was a lot of fun, you know, for a kid who grew up in the inner city of New York that had basically never been on a horse before. To have that kind of experience was really remarkable.
Wow, that's incredible. Is fencing one of the sports you like to watch during the Olympics then?
It is. I've always enjoyed it, and it's given me a lot of respect to see how hard the fencers work and prepare. You know, as my mom and dad once told me when I was fencing, that was some of the best physical shape I'd ever been in in my life, and I'm guessing it's all been downhill since then.
Wow. Okay, so for those that know you best, how would they describe you?
You know, I hope that they would describe me as a caring individual who is always asking the question of how can I do better, and how can I and we help others more. You know, I'm well beyond the stage of personal accolades, awards, and, you know, certificates and trophies and things of that nature. And I get up in the morning and go to sleep at night asking the question of how can I help other people. And I'm not interested at all in the credit for it. To the contrary, the more that I can do as what I call random acts of kindness, just a small, tiny little thing that no one will ever know. Pick up a tab in a restaurant for somebody, pay for somebody's groceries who's struggling. You know, the tiniest little things, to uplifting a student who is struggling, or talking to a faculty member about a grant that they may need some help with, whatever it might be. Those are the things that really give me joy in life, and those are the things that I hope I'm thought of about.
How about Grandpa? Is
that's
that part of the
great, too.
description too?
Oh yeah, well, that is so interesting because you know, I knew when the grandkids came along. We have 8-year-old twin grandchildren, the only grandkids in the family, and I knew that my wife would be immediately sucked into this and love every minute of it. What I underestimated was how fast and how tightly I would be pulled into this, and how much I love being with these young people, because they ask you all kinds of crazy questions, of course, and no different than your own kids do growing up. You know, I like to say that grandchildren are God's gift to us for raising our own children. I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I tell you, I appreciate every minute of time with them.
Oh, that's great. They're big Husker fans too, right? They like coming and watching the sports here on campus?
Oh, absolutely. They've been to a lot of events, and we're actually planning the next fall season together.
Oh, that's great. Well, school has ended. Summer is here. What's on your mind as you look back at the past semester?
Well, it's been a semester of challenge. Certainly, the biennial budget is always front and center on our mind, and I really appreciate the hard work of the Appropriations Committee and the body of the unicameral, and of course the teamwork with the governor and the governor's financial folks who have worked shoulder to shoulder with us to go from what would have been a very substantial cut to actually a modest but a very thoughtful plus-up to the university budget. We're still going to have some hard decisions that we're going to have to make to get things balanced. We just had some committee meetings with the Board of Regents, and we're starting to frame that out before the June public board meeting, but a lot better than we started earlier in the year. And I particularly appreciate it because the Financial Forecasting Board has continued to share concerns about the long-term financial biennial future for the state based upon corn prices and other produce prices, based upon the cost of delivering services. And so all of that together has raised some concerns. And so the ability to speak in a way of affirming the high value of public education in the state by the University of Nebraska system, I think goes a really long way. And it's a message that needs to be appreciated by our faculty and staff and students to try to keep our higher education affordable.
Okay, so as you look ahead to the summer months, what is on the docket for you?
Well, living out the reality of the budget, of course, is on the docket. Travel across the state. I've got several trips that are planned to literally crisscross the state from border to border, and to meet at schools, to meet Rotaries, to talk to some 4-H groups, and everything and anything in between. And of course, just as many of our fall teams are going to be involved in 1-a-day and 2-a-day practices, we're going to be getting ready for the fall semester as well, and talking about new programs, staying laser focused on strategic planning, and of course, continuing to grow the reputation of the university.
And then as you look ahead to the Board of Regents meeting coming up in June too, there's a couple of important things on the docket there for you.
Well, the June meeting will, of course, be critical, as it is every year, for the budget for the next academic year. But this meeting is also going to be very critical for the appointment of the next chancellor at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, Dr. Neil Schnorr, who is selected by our committee, has been toured with me across the state, and I am very hopeful that the recommendation by our committee, and certainly my personal recommendation to the Board of Regents, will be well received. You know, after more than 2 decades with Doug Christensen and now almost a full year with Charlie Bisek, it'll be great to have a permanent board-approved chancellor leading the critically important Kearney campus. You know, I've gotten to know Neil quite well during this 30-day vetting period. He's a remarkable individual. He knows the community well. His wife is, soon to be retired principal of Kearney High School. We couldn't ask for a better match.
All right, President Gold, let's wrap this thing up talking some Husker baseball and softball. What a weekend it was. They got another Big Ten championship for Husker baseball and Husker softball. Boy, they put Nebraska on the map once again, making it to the Super Regionals.
Absolutely, and I was really grateful for that rain delay because I could watch both games and enjoy both of them. Certainly the Lady Huskers did a phenomenal job, and it was a real heartbreaker. There are so many, one pitch, one hit, one fielding error could have made all the difference in this, and to their coach and to all of their players, and particularly for Jordy, who did a phenomenal job. Kudos and our very best wishes. And of course, for our amazing baseball team, again, you got to think that Greg Sharp somehow touched this in some way or another, because there were so many moments that could have gone one way or another in this single elimination series, and for us to shut out UCLA, just an amazing game. And I know that there's a lot of challenge ahead coming up this weekend in Chapel Hill, and that's going to be a pretty tough hill to climb as well, but I know that our guys are up for it.
Not surprising to you, I'm sure, to see the crowd that showed up there at Charles Schwab.
15,000 strong plus. And you could hear them chant, "Go Big Red" and "Husker Power" and all of the things that make the Nebraska experience. There was an interview with several of the pitchers, and they said, "I couldn't even hear the signs." And maybe that's part of the game now. Who knows?
Great stuff, as always. We appreciate you spending some time here with us on Sports Nightly.
Absolutely.
Again, President Jeffrey Gold joining us here on Sports Nightly. We got to step aside for a break. More of the show coming up right after this.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Noddle Companies proudly supports the Huskers Radio Network. As a full-service leader in commercial real estate, we create thriving communities. Discover what's new in the Builders District in North Downtown, Noddle Hospitality's latest venture in Exarban Village, and the contemporary living of row house townhomes on Leavenworth. We're welcoming world-class concepts from men's fashion and great eats to gorgeous homes and green spaces, all professionally managed by Noddle Services. These are the Noddle Companies, building a better Nebraska. For more information, check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Elevate your drive and experience luxury and sophistication at Genesis of Southwest Omaha. Right now, receive a $1,000 bonus, plus choose 3.99% APR for 60 months or 4.99% APR for 72 months on our full lineup of 2025 Genesis GV80s. Stop by our showroom at Village Point or explore our offers online at southwestomahagenesis.com. With approved credit, tax title license extra. Must have qualifying competitive Conquest or Genesis loyalty. $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires 6/2/2025. See dealer for details.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your foundation and damaging your home. Cracks in walls and uneven floors are just a few signs your foundation is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns: a free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Matt Coatney sitting in tonight. Thanks to Jessica Cootey for her work and talking to President Jeff Gold. On the text line, Art in Los Angeles, who I met last year when we played at UCLA, big Husker fan. Matt, thanks for doing the show. My question is, with Natalie Potts back and all of those other great players returning, how amazing will Husker women's basketball be this year? And I think they've got a chance to be really, really good. You don't replace Alexis Markowski. I mean, she's irreplaceable. But you get Britt Prince back. I think Natalie Potts is going to come back burning to have a big year. But the Big Ten is the premier women's basketball conference. I don't care what the SEC or ACC says. It's the toughest league, night in, night out. So going to be fun. I think the Huskers will be pretty good. I think they're a postseason team next year, Art. I have a few final words when we return when Sports Nightly continues in a few moments.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Our final segment of Sports Nightly, and brought to you in part by Hy-Vee. Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee, where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. You know, one of the great things when I make a rare North American appearance here during the summer, it's the summer now, Jake, isn't it? I believe so. Okay, the pools aren't open in Lincoln. That's been a big story here. But I get to work with our producers, and Josh Hilkeman and Russ Brown were in here earlier, but David Swotek is turning the dials, and Jake Schrantz is sitting right here with me. So, Jake, I got to ask you this. A lot of people associate me with our football broadcast, pregame and postgame, and Big Red Reaction. How many days do you think we are away from Huskers against Cincinnati on August 28th?
Off the top of my head, it's got to be less than 90 days, maybe 100 days.
92. How many hours approximately until Big Red Reaction starts on this network?
Couple thousand, maybe 2,000.
Whoa, look
3,
at the big brain. I feel like I'm doing a Pulp Fiction drop right here.
Like that.
Look at the big brain on Jake. 2,227 hours approximately until Big Red Reaction. So I can't wait to start talking about it. I think Jessica Cootey, if she didn't say why she's off tonight, we're going to have breaking news here. But she was able to go. Everybody knows she's from Oklahoma. She was able to get tickets to Game 5 of Thunder and the Timberwolves tonight. And I got to thinking, you guys are I'm almost 3 times older than you guys. You and David. So I got to ask you this. Do you guys remember the original franchise name of the Oklahoma City Thunder? You got this,
Yeah,
Jake?
Seattle Supersonics all day long.
Do you remember the Seattle Supersonics? Have you ever seen them play, like, for real on TV?
I've never watched them play. They were done pretty much before I started watching the NBA. But, yeah, you know, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, all those guys. I'm a big fan.
Oh, I'm impressed. When I go back to Slick Watts.
Okay.
And Lenny Wilkins and Jack Sikma.
Yeah.
You know, basketball coaches, they still do the Sikma drill.
Okay.
Which is kind of this elbow step back thing, based on that. Well, that's where Jess is tonight. I've kind of forgotten about the Seattle Supersonics, but OKC leads that 3-1. They're going to win it tonight. They're at home. I mean, Minnesota's done, aren't they?
Yeah, 3-1 is known as one of the most insurmountable feats to make in pro sports. So, you know, on the road like that, I don't know if Timberwolves will get it done.
You got any dog in this fight, Jake?
Not really. Personally, I was hoping for a Knicks Timberwolves finals, but, I mean, you can't knock bringing an MVP into the NBA finals. That's one of the coolest things you can bring.
Well, SGA. He's something else. This has been a fun show. Thanks to you guys for nursing me through it. Thanks to Nate Rohr at the top of Hour 1, President Jeff Gold. Thanks to Lauren Cook West and John Cook, and then Ben McLaughlin started us off. 4 o'clock Friday, it'll be the Huskers in Oklahoma. Going to be a lot of fun here on the Huskers Radio Network. Listen to Benny Mack and Nick Hanley. I'm Matt Coatney. Jessica will be back tomorrow night. I have loved being here tonight. Good night, Nebraska.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra. The perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds, 1/114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology.